let's start by making your way into a comfortable seat. So with your hands, turn your thighs in, place your fingertips then on the ground beside you. Before you stretch up, just flesh of the buttocks down and the knees down in whatever position you're sitting in. Place the hands on the ground beside you. Lengthen the sides of the torso. Drop the shoulder blades and move the top of the upper arm bones back. Take the head lightly back and lift the center of the heart up. Good morning, Liddy. And then maintaining that lift and length in the torso, place the hands lightly up or down on the legs. Take a breath or two. And arrive. I have over the last several months, and even before, possibly for the last year, one of my regular contemplations is what is strength? And I come to the yoga practice with a little more proclivity toward flexibility work than strengthening work. And that's been something that I've had to cultivate a relationship with. And so I think for many years in my asana practice, I considered strength as kind of something to build up and to kind of almost put on. It's like I was thinking of strength as this outer covering. And more recently, I've come to a different relationship, a different perspective on strength. And that strength is actually going deep down and in. And that there is an inherent strength inside us that we want to touch. So instead of it being something that is built up and put on or developed kind of on the outside, I'm finding it's more and more something I have to move down and into, and that is already present. And it's the strength of being grounded inside my experience at any moment in time. And that's not, that's independent of circumstance and independent of situation. So at moments when there is uncertainty or distress, I can stay as present inside that experience, as strong in my connection to myself as I can when I'm feeling more at ease and more joyful or energized. And so as we practice this morning, I invite us all to use the practice to move down and in, to get so grounded inside ourselves and strengthen that connection to our essence, that nothing that comes to us through our life experience shifts us off of that foundation. And it's only, I'm coming to understand, it's only from that really deep connection, groundedness to myself, that I can access true strength and be empowered to act in a way that is useful to myself and to the world around us. So it's like action first comes from that deep internal contact and the cultivation of the strength needed to stay present and grounded in myself, regardless of circumstance. So with that in mind, close your eyes. And bring your attention to your pelvis internally. Feel into the sitting bones. Notice the tailbone. And bring your attention to the pubic bone. Feel those 4 points. So a sitting bone on the right, on the left, pubic bone in front, tailbone behind. And come into a sitting position where those 4 points are balanced evenly. So, of course, they're not going to have the same physical weight. They're not going to contact the seat in the same way, but that there's an even relationship to the earth from each of those 4 points. And then, from those 4 points, find the very center of the base of the pelvis. From the center of the base of the pelvis, feel into the navel. And you can touch any of these places that sometimes the hand on the external body can help center our attention. And so find the place sort of halfway between the base of the pelvis and the navel. Another way to say it would be to find the spot in the center of the pelvis that's about 3 or 4 finger widths below the navel. And feel into that space in the center of the pelvis. Or imagine that space. And for the next few breaths, imagine that that space grows in size, so it fills more of the entire pelvis, and it becomes heavy. So, some images of the Buddha shows the Buddha with this great round belly, and a kind of, as a consequence, a kind of heaviness. So cultivate that sense of roundness and heaviness in the center of the pelvis. There were these toys when I was growing up, Weeble Wobbles, and they had no arms and legs, and they were just round figures, and you could knock them on any angle and they would tip to side and kind of roll around, but never actually completely fall over. So that there's that sense in your pelvis of being wide, broad, heavy, so stable that nothing can knock you over or throw you off this center. Keeping that contact, join your hands together at your heart. lift the center of the heart up from the center of the pelvis getting heavier. So we're gonna Om once to initiate the practice. And as best you can, feel the sound of the Om vibrate in the pelvis and in the heart. Take a breath in. Bow your head to your heart. Release your hands, lift your head, and then come up to stand. So come to stand with the feet a little wider than hip distance apart. And turn the feet out just a kind of natural amount. And then bend the knees so that the knees angle over the middle toes of the feet. And keeping the heels on the ground, sit down well. Bring the bottom of the pelvis, the pelvic floor, parallel to the ground, and feel the sitting bones connect down into the arches of the feet. The pubic bone tether to the balls of the feet, and the tailbone to the backs of the heels, so that the legs and the feet are an expression of the base of the bowl of the pelvis. Let the leg muscles relax as best you can so that the bones of the legs are holding you. And the legs are a little wider, so again there's that sense of width and heaviness and groundedness from the base of the pelvis down. Now with the arms to the sides, rotate the arms outward. As you inhale, stretch the arms up overhead. Now imagine you're holding a medium-sized ball with your hands, and as you exhale, slowly bring that ball down in front. Hover in the center of the pelvis for a moment, and then drop the hands. Turn the arms out. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. Go down into the feet as you take the arms up. Hold the medium-sized ball with your hands, and then slowly bring it down until that ball is right in front of the middle of the pelvis. Drop the hands. Turn the arms. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. Exhale, big ball. Draw it straight down in front of you. Hover in the center of the pelvis. Then release the hands 2 more times. Inhale, sweep the arms out. As you go out and up, push down into the feet. Keep the pelvis heavy. And then bring the arms down in front of you, holding lightly the medium-sized ball, and hover it in the center of the pelvis. Last time, release the arms, sweep out and up. And then down in front. And now, hold the hands in the center of the pelvis so the top finger, the first finger and the thumb, are parallel with the ceiling. And imagine you're holding this ball that's also physically present in the center of the pelvis, also out in front of you. Feel the steadiness of the legs holding you. And have a sense that even if you moved, you would not be thrown off your center. Now, keeping the legs like this, lean into your left leg and foot, pick your right foot up, just hover it off the ground, and then put it down. Bend the knees, keep holding the ball in front of you. Lean onto the right foot, lift the left foot up. Come back down. You want to bend the knees enough that you feel this in your ankles. So back to the left, lift up. Come down. Come over, stand on your right foot, knee bent. Foot heavy. And then one more time on each side. So to the left, pick the right foot up. Back down. Push into the right foot, lift the left foot. Feel any wavering and wobbling, but stay also steady in your connection to your feet. Then come back to center, stretch the legs straight, release the arms. Come and stand at the front of the mat. Rotate the whole arms out so that the palms turn toward the sides of your space. Lift the center of the heart up. Now releasing the hands just for a moment, interlace your hands behind your back. And then roll the upper arm bones out as best you can. It's not really going to give you the same physical movement, but it's the same feeling sense. Touch the thumbs to the tailbone. Drop the tailbone to the heels. Feel the base of the pelvis connect to the arches of the feet. And the pubic bone to the balls of the feet. Now as you lift the center of the arches up, feel the pelvic floor lift and tune into the space in the center of the pelvis. Descend the shoulder blades, press them forward into the upper back and lift the center of the heart up. Lift the chin, look up. Release the hands. With the arms at your sides, turn the whole arms out and feel the response in the shoulder blades. And then change the interlacing of the fingers. Move the top of the upper arm bones back. Point the elbows back. And press the shoulder blades into the upper back. Now again, tune into the feet. Tailbone to heels. Pubic bone to the balls of the feet. Lift the center of the arches up. Lift the base of the pelvis up. And feel into the center of the pelvis. Keeping that ball, that imaginary ball, in the center of the pelvis heavy. Curl the heart up. Move your head back. Lift your chin. Look up. And then bring your head to center. Release your hands. Standing forward bend. Exhale. Fold all the way down over the legs. Bend the knees as needed. Place the fingertips on the ground. Release the head completely. So now, first, feel into the back of the heels and bring the tailbone in contact energetically, like in your imagination, with the backs of the heels. Link the pubic bone to the balls of the feet. Lift the arches of the feet. Lift the pelvic floor. Now hug the low belly back just enough that that ball sits slightly more toward the spine, then spilling forward toward the front of the belly. Stretch the legs straighter. And then as you press firmly down into the balls of the feet and the heels and lift the arches, fold the torso more fully over the legs. Release the head completely. And feel the groundedness in your legs and your feet so that if any strong wind came along or you were slightly pushed by life to one side or the other, you would go with that force but still come back to center.
and shift a little bit your hips side to side to feel the stability in the legs and the feet, even as the body also moves a bit. Then bend the knees, place the hands flat, step or lightly hop all the way back into downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Along the way, turn the hands slightly out and press the pads of the fingers down. Micro bend the elbows and bring the entire circumference of the palms more fully in contact with the ground. Rotate the triceps toward the head. And now press the shoulder blades deeply into the upper back. Hug the low belly slightly back toward the spine, so keep that ball in the center of the pelvis held slightly back toward the back of the pelvis. And then link the tailbone to the backs of the heels, the pubic bone to the balls of the feet. And as you lift the arches, lift the base of the pelvis so that that ball is held very much in the center, the kind of back center of the pelvic bowl. Inhale, bring your shoulders forward over your wrist plank pose. And then from here, upward facing dog. So keep the legs very strong, push back through the heels, drop the pelvis toward the ground without touching. Roll the upper arms out. Curl the center of the heart forward. Lift the chin. Now lift the hips up and press all the way back, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale, come forward into plank. Keep the hips high. Turn the tailbone toward the heels. And then keeping the low belly slightly back, the legs strong, upward facing dog. Lower the hips toward the ground. Drag the center of the heart forward. And from the bowl of the pelvis, push back into the heels. Lift the hips up and back. Adho Mukha Svanasana. A couple more times in this rhythm. Inhale, plank. Lower the hips, lift the heart. Upward facing dog. Press from the center of the pelvis back into the feet. And then up and back, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Keep the legs and the arms strong. Inhale, plank. Exhale, drop the hips toward the ground. Inhale, curl the center of the heart forward. Pull the hands back toward the feet. Lift the hips. Adho Mukha Svanasana, last one. Inhale, plank. Drop the hips, lift the heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale here. Exhale, bend your knees to the ground. Pause. If you'd like a blanket to support the knees, we're going to be on the knees just for a moment. So you can take a blanket and put it under the knees. And then from here, puppy pose. So keep the hips relatively back over the knees. Arch the back. So the whole spine moves from the back of the body toward the front of the body. And then hug up the low belly. So again, the low belly is holding the ball, the groundedness, that ball that represents the groundedness toward the back of the pelvis. You can have the toes tucked under or the feet extended. Now walk the hands forward and bring first the forehead toward the ground. Separate the hands a little wider apart, optionally. If your forehead easily touches the ground, part 2, phase 2, is to bring the chin to the floor. If your forehead is not touching the floor, grab a blanket or a pillow and put underneath it. And if the chin is on the ground, phase 3 is to bring the center of the heart toward the ground. And we're beginning the practice, so, let that happen only if that's easily available to you. Keep the low belly back. One One more breath. Make your way back up just enough that you can lie all the way down on your stomach. Take the left hand in front of you, Ekapada Bekasana, thigh stretch. So left forearm in front of you. You could rest your forehead on your forearm, or you can lift the forehead up, and that depends on the lower back. So now, scoop up to the low belly. Draw the tailbone toward the heels, drawing the buttocks down away from the lower back and firming the muscles of the buttocks. If you're up on your left forearm, walk it in a little bit so that you can curl the center of the heart forward. Now bend your right knee, reach back, catch your right ankle. And we're going to do this multiple times through the practice. So if your lower back is feeling discomfort, perhaps rest your head on your left forearm. And even though we'll get more fancy with the arm position, for this moment, simply draw the right heel toward the center of the right buttocks. If you're propped up on your left forearm, drag your elbow toward the chest, toward the body, and use that to pull the center of the heart forward. But feel the connection of the heart lifting from the deep groundedness or weightedness in the center of the pelvic bowl. Release the right leg, stretch it straight. Change sides, so either rest your forehead on your right forearm or prop yourself up on your right forearm. Descend the shoulder blades. Hug the low belly back so that the ball of groundedness in the center of the pelvis sits back toward the spine. And then as you bend the left leg, reach back, catch your left ankle. And using your arm lightly, draw the heel toward your buttocks. Feel into not just the work in the upper body, but the work in the lower torso. So feel into still the center of the pelvis. And keeping part of your attention there, draw the center of the heart forward without losing contact with the groundedness in the center. And that's where the connection to our deeper layers of strength and power lie. Release the left leg. Place the hands under the shoulders. Lift up into downward facing dog in preparation for pigeon prep. So from downward facing dog, now bring your right knee to the outside of your right wrist. Put your right foot in front of your left hip. And this is significant. Slide your left leg away from you as you bring your left knee to the ground. So it doesn't matter if your right hip is touching the floor. However, if you feel discomfort in your knee, you might want to prop up your hip on a blanket. Another option is to flex the right foot a little bit more. So hug the low belly back. Firm the muscles of the buttocks. Walk your hands toward you a little bit. So if your lower back is feeling too much pressure here, walk your hands away from you. Come a little more forward. If the spine has the mobility, then walk your hands a little closer to you. Now tether the tailbone toward the heels. And actually here, especially toward the right heel. Link the pubic bone to the balls of the feet, especially the ball of the left foot. And then pull from the arches of the feet into the base of the pelvis. And feel a slight rising up. You might actually even physically lift slightly up away from the ground as you do this. Feel the base of the pelvis lift up. Move your head back. Pull your hands toward your feet and curl the heart forward. Then tuck the toes, the left toes under. Walk the knee in a little bit. Push into the hands. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Take a breath. And then the other side, so bring your left knee to the outside of your left wrist. Put your left foot in front of your right hip. And then as you bring the right knee down, slide it back away from you. Make your right leg longer as best you can. Adjust the hands for comfort in the lower back. And then find the tailbone. And tether the tailbone to your left heel. Even if that doesn't make any sense. Link the pubic bone to the ball of the right foot. Especially the ball of the foot on the big toe side. From the arches of the feet, pull up into the base of the pelvis. And feel the ball in the center of the pelvis, that space there, in the shape of an orb. Sit slightly back toward the spine, toward the back of the pelvis. Wherever your hands are, lightly pull them toward your hips and send the center of the heart forward. Maybe take the head back, maybe lift the chin. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Walk the back knee in an inch and then step up and back. Take a breath or two here. Sink the pads of the fingers down. Micro-bend the elbows and weight the entire circumference of the palms down. Turn the triceps toward the sides of the face. And now very significantly pull the hips back. Tether the tailbone to the heels. The pubic bone to the base of the big toes. And now as you lift the center of the arches up, lift up the base of the pelvis, the pelvic floor. And sitting the low belly back, feel into the groundedness in the center of the pelvis. Feel that area fill up with your awareness and ground you deeply into your own experience. Look forward. Inhale, walk the feet to the hands. Exhale, fold, standing forward bend. Bring the hands to the hips, lift the chin. Inhale, come up. Exhale. Join the feet right together. Utkatasana, chair pose. So touch the big toes. You can have a little space between the heels. And then inhale, stretch the arms up. If it works for your shoulders to interlace the fingers and point the first finger up, do that. And now find the tailbone. And link the tailbone to the backs of the heels. Feel into the pubic bone. And link the pubic bone to the balls of the feet. Lift the center of the arches and the base of the pelvis up. And then exhale, bend at the ankles and the knees and lower the hips down so that the tailbone maintains its relationship with the heels. Keep the low belly sitting back. Now, lift the rib cage up so that from the deep groundedness in the base of the pelvis, in the ball of the pelvis, lift the rib cage away from the hips. Move the head back, lift the chin, look up. Push into both heels, inhale, rise up. Exhale, sweep the arms down. Warrior one, inhale, step the feet really wide apart. Turn the left leg and foot in 60 degrees. Rotate the right leg and foot out 90. Adjust as needed so that you can turn your torso to face the short edge of the mat. Release your arms. Rotate the whole arm so that the palms turn out. And then, pressing into the feet, inhale, take the arms overhead. So that the arms lifting up does not shift our attention away from the base of the pelvis, the legs, and the feet. Inhale here. Exhale, deeply bend your front knee. aiming it straight out over your middle toes. Now, again, link the tailbone, just like in pigeon pose, link the tailbone to your front heel. Link the pubic bone to the balls of the feet, but especially the left one. Lift the arches of the feet up into the pelvic floor, and lift the pelvic floor up, hug the low belly back so that that is creating a muscular support around the ball of earth that's in the center of the pelvis and kind of holding it there in space. Now, just like in Utkatasana, stretch the arms up, lifting the rib cage away from the pelvis. Take the head back, lift the heart, lift the chin, look up, release the head back as much as your neck allows. Push into your heels, inhale, come up. Exhale, turn the feet, lower the arms. Put your hands on your hips, change sides. So swivel the right foot in 60 degrees, turn the left leg and foot out, adjust. Release the arms to the sides, rotate the whole arm so that the palms turn out. Take the arms overhead, change the interlacing of the fingers. Point the first finger up. Inhale. Exhale, deeply bend your front knee. Keep your back heel well planted. And then tether the tailbone to your front heel. Link the left side of the pubic bone to the ball of the right foot. From the center of the arches, draw up into the low belly, into the base of the pelvis, and then the low belly, and hold the ball of space in the center of the pelvis, suspended, but slightly back toward the spine. Lifting the rib cage up, take the head back, lift the chin, look up. Inhale, stretch the legs straight, turn the feet, lower the arms, and then step the feet together. Utkatasana, so big toes touch, heels a little bit apart. Take the arms overhead, change the interlacing so you're in the unusual interlacing, different than the first side. Same work, tailbone to the heels, pubic bone to the balls of the feet. Lift the center of the arches, lift the pelvic floor, hug the low belly back, sit down. Sit down, keep that relationship of the pelvis to the feet. And even though we're in a narrower stance here, right? We don't have the width that we had in that beginning exercise. Feel still, like you're so rooted that nothing can upset you. And it is that capacity to be fully rooted in ourselves, regardless of the circumstances in which we find us, that provides stability, not just for each of us individually, but also in the world as a whole. Head back, lift the chin, look up. Push into your heels, straighten the legs, take the arms down. Face the short edge of the mat. Revolved high lunge, or a variation of Parvati Parshvanasana. So with the feet separated, inhale. Exhale, standing forward bend. Fold over the legs. Pause here just for a moment. And feel into the center of the pelvis, the stability of the legs. And adjust, widen in a way that feels like you are super steady and can be a pillar, like a pillar stamba, have the strength of a pillar that holds up a corner of the temple. Bend the knees, Place the fingertips beside the feet and then step the left foot back, straight leg lunge as the entry point. So tailbone to the front heel, pubic bone to the ball of the back foot. Bring your hands up to your front knee. Lift from the center of the arches into the pelvic floor. Lift the pelvic floor, so that space right between front to back, the pubic bone and the tailbone, and in between the sitting bones. Draw up, sit the low belly back. Now stretch the left arm alongside the left ear. Use that to lift the rib cage up. Come forward, and now cross the entire left arm over the right leg. Either join your hands in prayer position or take your left fingertips to the ground. Draw the shoulder blades away from the ears. Stretch the legs strong, straight, while the back leg's straight and strong. And keep the tailbone linking to your front heel, the pubic bone to the ball of the back foot. From the stability in the legs, lift the heart, lift the chin, turn the head as best you can to the right, and if your right arm is up, look toward your right thumb. Inhale, hand down, unwrap, step the back foot forward. Uttanasana. Second side. Right foot all the way back, straight leg lunge. Tether the tailbone to the left heel, the pubic bone to the ball of the right foot. Lift the arches, lift the base of the pelvis, bring your hands to your front knee. So there's a lift of the bottom of the pelvis into the body and a light hugging back of the low belly. From there, stretch the right arm up. Use the arm to lift the pelvis, to lift the rib cage away from the pelvis, and then cross the right arm over the left leg. Take whatever position you did on the first side. Feel into the center of the pelvis. And use that connection down and in to link you to the strength of the earth, the ability to be grounded and present through all that life throws at us, through all of the uncertainty, the instability, the chaos. Inhale, unwrap, downward facing dog. Place the hands, step back, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Inhale here, and then exhale, drop the knees to the ground, and swing around so that the legs are out in front of you. Navasana, boat pose. With your hands, turn your legs in. Bend the knees. Catch the backs of the thighs. Arch the whole spine up into the body so that the spine, instead of rounding toward the earth, lifts away from the ground, but then hug the low belly back. Take the tailbone toward the heels. Lean back. Lift the shins parallel to the ground or stretch the legs straight. Drop the shoulder blades. Really lift the spine into the body. Lift the base of the pelvis, the pelvic floor. Hug the low belly back. And then if you're steady here, stretch the arms out on either side of the leg. But lift the heart up. Release the head. 2 more breaths. Bend the knees. Place the feet on the ground, stretch the legs out straight. Ardha Navasana. Interlace the hands behind your head. Make sure you have roll back space behind you, just in case. And then holding the thick part of your head with your hands, drop your chin toward your chest. Now, the opposite movement of the spine, round your back And slowly roll back until you're on the back of the pelvis and lift the feet. Keep the low belly in. And then inhale, come back up. It's a hard one to talk through. Turn your thighs in with your hands, Navasana. Bend the knees. Catch the backs of the thighs. Here, lift the spine into the body. Hug the low belly. And then legs up, shins parallel to the ground, or stretch the legs straight. Head back, heart forward. And then release the arms. Stay steady. So it's actually that ball in the center of the pelvis that's holding us here in the position. Breathe. Bend the knees. Stretch the legs out straight on the ground. Change the interlacing of the fingers behind your head. Ardha Navasana. Drop the chin. Slowly round your back, so you're curling the low belly in particular in, and you're feeling that ball sit toward the back of the pelvis. Roll back. Lift the legs. Breathe. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, release the arms. So here, if you have a blanket handy, we're going to do Marichyasana 3, a seated twist. So we want to have that lift through the vertebrae of the spine, and sitting up on support helps with that. So if there's any temptation for the lower back to round and your spine to come more into the half boat Ardha Navasana position, please do sit up on something. Bend the right leg. Stretch the left leg out straight. Now take the right hand behind you and take it back about a foot. So you're leaning back now away from your front leg. As you do that, there'll be a little more of a tendency for the tailbone to connect to the left heel. So fine, but also connect the pubic bone to the left, the ball of the left foot. Arch the spine into the body so that there's that deep movement of the vertebrae of the spine forward. Put your left hand on the outside of your right knee. Now bend your right elbow. Keeping the spine lifted, lengthen the front of the torso so you feel the low belly sit back, and now twist the torso very strongly to the right. Keep all of that work. Use your right hand to push yourself upright and cross your left arm more over your right knee. Walk even your right hand closer to you. Feel the low belly sitting back. Lift the vertebrae of the spine into the body and up. And now twist the torso and the head to the right. Lift right from the base of the pelvis to the crown of the head. Inhale, come back to center. Release. Stretch both legs straight. Exhale. I'm just going to turn so that the visuals are better. So now stretch the right leg straight, then the left leg. Keeping the right leg straight. Take the left hand quite a ways behind you, so maybe 18 inches, the length of your forearm at least, a bit more. Put the right forearm across the left knee. As you lean back, send the tailbone and the pubic bone toward the heel and the ball of the right foot, respectively. And then arch the vertebrae of the spine in. Feel the low belly sit back. and twist the torso to the left. So your left elbow is bent here. And I'm using that to initiate the twist. Then I keep everything the same as I come upright and walk the left hand in and slide the right hand more deeply across. So bending the right elbow. Use the arms to lift the rib cage out of the pelvis while at the same time feeling the heaviness in the center of the pelvis. The torso deeply to the left. Turn the head to the left. Lift the chin just a tiny bit. Press the head back and turn the head more. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, both legs out straight. So, one more seated twist. Pasasana from the squat position. So, I'm supporting my heels with the blanket to come into the squat. If your knees don't allow this position, I suggest you repeat what we just did. The seated Marichyasana 3 is a very similar positioning in the spine and the torso. So all we're doing really here is changing, in particular, the left leg that was straight, and asking the knees to take a little bit more flexion. So either sit with the left leg extended, the right leg straight, or if you can squat with your feet together and don't need support for your heels, do that. And if you need support for your heels, take your blanket. So here, link the tailbone to the heels. Find the line from the pubic bone to the balls of the feet. Lift from the center of the arches into the base of the pelvis, and feeling the steadiness through the orb of the pelvis. Stretch the left arm up, cross it over, and join your hands. The other option is you can put the left hand on the ground, stretch the right arm up. So just like in the standing twist earlier. Wherever you are, keep the knees together and shift the knees slightly to the right. They'll tend to go to the left in the process of getting the cross. Lift the rib cage away from the pelvis, and then lightly use your arms to twist the torso to the right, turn the head to the right, look up, take the head back, look up. Inhale back to center, and then other side. So if you're doing the Marichyasana option, the seated twist, then you're going to stretch the right leg straight, bend the left leg. If you're in the squat, same position, we're changing sides. So now, knees together, base of the big toes together. Connect the tailbone to the heels, pubic bone to the balls of the feet. Stretch the left arm up. Get a deep, the right arm up. Get a deep hook of the right arm across the left leg. Maybe hand down. That would be right hand down, left arm up. Make the heels heavy. Heavy the tail, make the heavy. Link the pubic bone to the balls of the feet. Peel the low belly back. Lift the chest. Take the head back. Look up. So again, hands in prayer position, right, is the other hand option. And then that hand down, unwrap. Pause for a moment. So from here, we're going to do one last seated twist for our Vajrasana. So that's the knees bent and the feet to the outside of the left hip. So I suggest for most of you, you sit up on something. And then bend the right foot beside the left hip. Put the top of the left ankle in the arch of the right foot. So from here, take the left arm to the left, turn it in so that the whole arm rotates and the palm faces back. Then take the hand behind you and bend the elbow and lay the back of the forearm across the lower back. So if that doesn't work for your shoulder, then you're going to just take the hand across the right thigh. If you have that rotation in the shoulder, grab either hold of your shirt or perhaps take the left hand and take the left hip down. Tether the tailbone to the earth. Lift the rib cage up. And now as you exhale, twist the rib cage to the right, take the head back, turn the head to the right, lift the chin a bit. Breathe. Feel the orb of space. The ball in the very center of the pelvis, connected to the earth. Sitting back slightly toward the sacrum and down toward the tailbone. And from there, rise up and twist. Inhale back to center. Release the arms, and then extend the legs out straight. So sitting on height, bend the left foot beside the right hip, and then bend the right leg and put the top of the right ankle on the arch of the left foot. Turn your thighs in. Make your right sitting bone as heavy as possible. This is an asymmetrical position, but you want to make the hip as heavy as you can. Then stretch the right arm out. Rotate the whole arm at the shoulder joint so that the thumb turns toward the ground and then lightly back toward the wall behind you. Bend the elbow. If that works for the shoulder, catch either the back of your shirt or your left upper arm, or just take your right hand across the outside of your left thigh. Take the left hand behind you, keeping the right sitting bone heavy. Inhale, lengthen the right side of the torso. Exhale, twist the torso to the left. Spin the right side of the rib cage to the left as much as possible. Move the head back. Turn the head. Lift the chin a little bit. Breathe. Inhale, back to center. Unwrap. Downward facing dog. And we're going to do the downward dog, up dog movement that we did at the beginning of the practice. So place the hands shoulder distance apart, possibly a little wider versus narrower. Plant the pads of the fingers and press down through the entire outer circle of the palms. Micro bend the elbows. Turn the triceps toward the head. Now as you pull the hips back, away from the hands, tether the tailbone to the heels. Ground the pubic bone into the balls of the feet. Lift the center of the arches. Lift the pelvic floor. Hug the low belly back. Really feel the steadiness in the legs, and then come forward into plank. Keep the steadiness of the legs even though you're lowering the hips down a bit. Rotate the upper arms out like you're turning your hands side to side, and bring the center of the heart forward. Lift the pelvis up and back. So all the way through the changes of the position, The work in the pelvis and the legs is exactly the same. Inhale, plank. Hips down, heart forward, upward dog. Look up. Lift from the bowl of the pelvis, up and back. Downward dog. Tailbone to heels, pubic bone to the balls of the feet. Inhale, plank. Hips down, heart forward, upward facing dog. Lift the chin. Exhale, downward facing dog. Lift the bowl of the pelvis 2 more times. Inhale. Feel the low belly sitting back. Keep that. Even as you drop the hips, don't let the low belly spill forward. Curl the heart forward. Lift the chin. Lift the hips up and back. Last one. Plank. Hips down, heart forward. And then hips up and back. Inhale. Exhale. Touch the knees to the ground. So, puppy pose. Again, you might want to have the blanket across the mat for the knees. And you want to come a little more to the back edge of your mat. So keeping the knees hip distance apart. Center the hips over the knees. Relatively speaking, they can come forward a bit. Now arch the spine. And this is tricky because even though the tailbone is lifting here, tether it to the heels. So it's not winging up out of control. Like the pubic bone to the balls of the feet and hug the low belly back. So you're staying completely grounded in the pelvis and the legs. Walk the hands forward. Take the hands wider apart, slightly turned out. Bring your forehead to the ground. Option 1. Dive the entire spine deeper into the body. So it feels like the twist, the seated twist Marichyasana 3 when we leaned back and bent the back arm. And the whole spine moves into the body. If your chin is down and it's working, so if your forehead's down and it's working, bring your chin to the ground. Walk your chin forward. Press the shoulder blades deeply into the upper back. Curve the center of the heart forward toward the thumbs. Maybe touch the center of the chest down on the ground. Two more breaths. Lift your head, walk your hands back in. Move the blanket, lie all the way down on your stomach. So the thigh stretch, Ekapada Bakasana. Prop yourself up on your left forearm. And again, if that's not a good idea for you today, rest your forehead on your left forearm instead. If you can prop up, then we're going to work the arm position. If your head is down, you're going to just catch your ankle and draw your heel toward your buttocks. So with the forearm in front of you, curve the spine, the entire spine deeper into the body so it feels like what we just did. But then hug back the low belly. Engage the muscles of the buttocks to bring the tailbone to the heels. Like the pubic bone to the balls of the feet. And as you lift the arches, lift the pelvic floor so that you're really using the work of the low belly muscles and the pelvic floor muscles to hold that imaginary ball or that sense of space, like it's an empty ball, in the center of the pelvis, slightly back toward the spine. Bend your bend your right knee. If the shoulder work you know is not a good idea for your shoulder, then you're just going to the side of the ankle and draw the heel toward the buttocks. Otherwise, turn your right palm up and then take it back and place the baby finger side of the hand on the inside of your right foot. So you can turn the torso a bit as you do this. Now the elbow's bent. Reach the point of the elbow back toward the wall behind you and place the V between the thumb and the first finger across the base of the toes. Bring the elbow more upright. Now use your hand position here to draw the right heel to the outside of the right hip. Spin the low belly slightly to the left. Lift the chest and bring the torso more back centered in line with the short edge of your mat. Feel the center of the pelvis and link that to the work, especially in the right leg. Lift the chest. Slightly turn the center of the chest to the left. Release that leg. Stretch the right leg straight. Bring the right forearm in front of you. Bend the left knee. Do the same work in the leg, so tailbone to left heel, pubic bone to the ball of the foot. Lift the pelvic floor, lift the low belly. Now turn the left palm up if you're doing the work in the arms, otherwise you're resting the forehead down or you're just catching the outside of the foot. If it's possible, twist the torso and put the pinky finger side of the upturned palm on the big toe side of the foot. Now bend that elbow so the point of the elbow reaches toward your feet. And now rotate the arms so that the V between your thumb and your first finger lays across the base of the toes. Lift the elbow point straight up toward the sky. Now as you draw the heel toward the outside of the hip, spin the low belly slightly to the right, bring your torso more to center. If your chest is lifted, drag your right forearm, your right elbow toward you slightly to send the center of the heart forward. And slightly turn the torso to the right. Couple more breaths. Feel into the center of the pelvis so that part of your attention is held there even while you're focused on other parts of the body and other sensations. And then very gently release that leg. Come down, place the hands under the shoulders, tuck the toes under, downward facing dog in preparation for pigeon. So now, like we did earlier in the practice, bring your right knee to the outside of your right wrist, put your right foot in front of your left hip. Walk the left knee back away from you and put as much of the front of the left thigh down on the ground as possible. So here, if your right hip is lifted in space, grab your blanket and tuck it underneath your right hip so that you've got a little support there to rest on. If your right hip can come down to the ground, then you don't need the support. So it's always good to just stay here and work here. And if that's already feeling like it's the maximum for your lower back, or really just for the level of sensation that you want to engage with today, then you stay here. Otherwise, keeping the tailbone, tethering especially to the front heel and the pubic bone toward the back heel. Bring your hands toward your torso and use your arms to lift the rib cage away from the pelvis. Squeeze the legs together. Now we'll do a thigh stretch here. So put your right hand a little more in front of you. Bend your left leg. Just reach simply back, catch the outside edge of the foot. That's option one. And draw the heel toward your hip. If your body has the capacity for the same arm position we just did in the lying down thigh stretch, that would be another choice. So wherever you are, squeeze the legs together. Even though the hips might lift off the ground in this position, keep the ball in the center of the pelvis heavy. Bend the left leg some amount. And draw the right heel toward the left heel to the left buttocks or to the outside of the left hip. Breathe. Practice staying grounded and present so that you're experiencing the sensations and you're working with capacity and not pushing through it, or also just simply checking out. Very gently, release the left leg, stretch it straight. Tuck the left toes under, step the knee forward, and then placing the hands down, downward facing dog, in preparation for the second side. So now inhale, left knee to the outside of the left wrist, left foot in front of the right hip. Slide the back knee back more. Put it down on the ground, rotating the outside of the hip forward. Support the outside of the left hip as needed. And then as you extend the right leg back behind you and put as much of the front of that thigh on the ground as possible, walk your hands in. Pull your hands slightly toward your feet. Send the center of the heart forward. Lift the chin a bit. Possibly just stay here, or even do less, walking the hands more forward. Not coming all the way over the leg, but staying in somewhat of a lifted torso position. Maybe bend the right leg. Maybe just reach back, catch the outside of the right ankle, draw the heel in. Maybe take the hand to the inside of the foot and come into the position we did in the reclined thigh stretch. So focus on paying less attention to which option you're doing and more attention to the grounding, the staying grounded, present, strong in your capacity to be with your experience. And it's that deep, integral presence that is the ultimate strength that the practice cultivates, and the ultimate strength that we need in our day-to-day life. Keep the jaw soft, lift the pelvic floor, hug the low belly back, and then very gently release that leg. Walk the knee forward, place the hands, Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Bend the knees to the ground, lie down on your stomach, cobra pose from Sphinx. So prop yourself up on your elbows. Send the tailbone to the heels, the pubic bone to the balls of the feet. Hug the low belly back and lift the pelvic floor so that you feel into the center of the pelvis, slightly more back toward the spine. With the elbows shoulder distance apart, take the hands out wider. And then drag the center of the heart forward by pulling your elbows back toward your feet. Take your head back. Now keeping the work in the legs, stretch the arms straight, lifting the elbows up. If your lower back is feeling too much, walk your hands more forward. If your lower back is available to the deeper work, then walk your hands more toward you. Wherever you are, pull your hands toward your feet. Keep part of your attention in the center of the pelvis and staying grounded there. Drag the heart forward, move the head back.
lift the chin. Walk the hands in at any point in time. Keep dragging the heart forward, head back. Heart up, chin up. Look up. Exhale, slowly. Come all the way back down. So if your body is feeling like it's had enough of the pigeon work, then you could do bridge pose on your back, both legs together. Like, lifting your hips up evenly, working both legs in an even way. Is acceptable. More pigeon prep, then that's what we're going to do next. So place the hands under the shoulders, press back. Some of you will turn over, lie on your back, others downward facing dog. And then last time, right knee to the outside of the right wrist. Walk the left knee back as you bring the left thigh down. Support the right hip as needed. Walk the hands in. So now we're going to do an arm variation, often called mermaid. And again, there's just you work in whatever capacity is present and available today without any storyline about why that is, whether that's worthwhile or not. It's instead an opportunity just to practice working with what is and being grounded in the reality of that. So possibly squeeze your knees toward each other a little bit, tether the tailbone to the front heel, the pubic bone to the ball of the back foot, bend the left knee. Turn to the left like we did the twists, and catch the left foot with the left hand, just however makes sense. So the hand is on the big toe side of the foot, palm more against the big toe side of the foot. And then bend that knee and slide the left foot into the right elbow. So now I've turned a bit and I'm leaning a little more onto my right hip. That's fine. Hold that, lift the right hand up off the ground. So that might be the limit. You might take the right hand up behind the head and catch the left fingertips. If that's the case, lift the heart and turn the heart more to the right. Lift the chest. Push the foot into the left elbow, left foot into left elbow. Curl the heart. Release the top hand. Release the left arm, stretch the left leg straight. Turn to center. Walk the foot in. Place the hand. Lift up. Step back. Downward facing dog. And then the other side. So left knee to the outside of the left wrist. Left foot in front of the right hip. Slide the right knee back. Walk the hands in. Breathe. Support the left hip as needed. Soften the jaw and the eyes. As you walk the right knee back, bend the right knee. Twist the torso to the right. Take the palm of the right hand, put it against the big toe side of the right foot. So I've rolled a bit to my left hip. And then lifting the chest, I'm going to draw the knee in and reach the right elbow back so that I wrap the elbow around the base of the toes, just like we used our hand earlier. So I can stay here and just lift the left hand perhaps to the left knee, or I can stretch the left arm up, bend the elbow behind the head, and catch the right fingertips.
destination is not the shape of the pose. The destination is the cultivation of deeper layers of presence in the midst of difficulty, in the midst of challenge, so that it's from that deep presence that we can make discerning choices and find right action. So release the left hand if you've caught something. Slowly release the right leg. If you've been on your back in bridge pose, you can just pause on your back. If you've been doing the work in pigeon, and then downward facing dog, take a pause there. So wherever you are, feel into the center of the pelvis. Feel into the link between the tailbone and the backs of the heels, the center of the heels, the pubic bone and the balls of the feet, the arches and the pelvic floor. Tune into the space in the very center of the pelvis. And then, if you're in downward dog, bend your knees to the ground. If you've been on your back, roll to your side. Grab your blanket. Sit on your blanket with your legs extended. Bend your right leg. Mary Chestnut 3 to release the back. So we're gonna come into it a slightly different way. This puts also a little more, asks a little more demand on the right knee. So if your right knee is not feeling it, then you can do the version that we did earlier, hand behind you, cross over. If it makes sense, keep the left heel grounded, the right heel grounded, but lift your hips up. So you bring your right sitting bone right over your right heel, and then you're forward over your leg. Put your right hand down to support you, and then from this forward position, cross the left arm over the right knee. Hug it in there. And then slowly you can use your right hand to help with you, come back onto your seat. So now you're in a much more forward position, and your torso is against your thigh. Now, send your tailbone toward the heels, the pubic bone to the balls of the feet. Lift up the pelvic floor, twist the torso to the right, turn the head to the right. Inhale, come back to center, unwrap the arms, and then change sides. So extend the right leg, then the left leg. So again, choosing the variation that works for your body. Perhaps lean back on your left hand and then do the twist from that leaned back position. If your knee is available to this work, stretch the right leg straight, bend the left leg, come forward. So your left heel lifts and the left sitting bone and the left heel come close together. Then, with the torso laying against the thigh, cross the arm over. So you're in a forward bend twist, more of the eventual work in the pose. And then using your left hand as a guide, sit yourself back down on your support. Take the left hand behind you. And feel into the ball of the pelvis, ball at the center of the pelvis. Keeping that heavy, lift the heart, twist the torso to the left, turn the head to the left. Breathe. Inhale, come back to center. uncross. Simple cross-legged forward bend right before Shavasana. So cross the shins so that the knees are not that much wider than the hips. Weight the buttocks down so the low belly sits back and the tailbone slides underneath just a tiny bit toward the heels. And then walk the hands forward. Drop the chin slightly toward the chest. Breathe. And feel into the space in the center of the pelvis. Walk the hands back in, come up, change the leg cross. Keep just ever so slightly the tailbone reaching forward toward the heels. Sitting bones heavy and feeling the pelvic floor lifting slightly up away from the earth. Walk the hands out, keeping that work in the pelvis the same. So you're not thinking about rotating or tipping the pelvis forward so much as using the heaviness in the bowl of the pelvis to draw a little length in the lower back. Release the head, dropping the chin a little bit toward the chest. And then walking the hands back in. Lie on your back, Shavasana, briefly. So lie down well, positioning yourself effectively and efficiently into a supine resting position. Close your eyes. Relax the face completely, especially release the jaw, the eyes, and smooth out the muscles across the forehead, relax the muscles across the cheeks. Bring your attention into the space in the center of the pelvis. Find that ball of space, that one that we were holding with our hands at the beginning of the practice. Feel that. Notice it's sitting slightly back toward the front of the sacrum. And feel that heaviness there, the weightedness, and the inherent strength that connection to that place in the center of the pelvis provides. That space is linked to Ganesha. Ganesha is the elephant god who is very solid and steady and unmoving, earthy.
Feel that inside you and rest there, knowing that as the source of steadiness that holds us through all moments of uncertainty. Gently deepen your breath. And over the course of the next few breaths, as you're ready, bend your knees, place your feet on the ground, and support the head with the right arm. Roll to your right side. And after a little pause there, press yourself up. Come to sit. Sit well so that you can really feel the connection of the center of the pelvis into the earth. And then close your eyes. Join your hands at your heart. May our practice ground us into the innate and intrinsic strength at our core. May that and steady us through the inevitable ups and downs of life. We'll close the practice with a single Om. Take a breath in.